After former Lucchese crime family acting boss Little Al Diaco became a government informant, he told the FBI how family boss VIC AMUSO wanted to use respected Lucchese mobster Neil Migliore for his judicial contacts, and then kill him. Let's check it out. I'm James Gladwish and welcome to OC Shorts, bringing you detailed historical snapshots of the American Mafia and other organised crime. Feel free to subscribe if you like that sort of thing. Today, we're going to take a quick look at the time when Lucchese crime family boss VIC AMUSO and his underboss Anthony Casso planned to kill Lucchese mobster Neil Migliore. Little Al Diaco had been acting boss of the Lucchese crime family for 6 months, but then demoted back to captain by paranoid bosses VIC AMUSO and Anthony Casso. After Little Al survived what he believed was an attempt on his life at the Kimberley Hotel, he decided to become a government informant. We are going to review Al Diaco's FBI file, which includes information that he told the authorities regarding family boss VIC AMUSO's plans to murder Lucchese mobster Neil Migliore. Agnello Neil Migliore was an old-school mobster whose career dated back to the days when Tommy Lucchese was the boss of the family. In the early 1990s, VIC AMUSO had many legal problems, one of which was a charge relating to the famous Windows case. According to Little Al, mobster Neil Migliore had a relationship with then United States District Court Judge Raymond Deary, and Migliore was told to reach out to Deary to see if he could assist with VIC AMUSO's case. As Al Diaco's 302 would state, source advised that an attempt was recently made to influence United States District County Judge USDCJ Deary with regard to the Windows case. Source explained that Sal Avellino suggested to Source that Neil Migliore be contacted and told to utilize his contact with USDCJ Deary. Source was led to understand that Migliore had somehow been involved in influencing the selection of Deary to become US Attorney several years ago. As can be seen, it was believed by the Lucchese crime family that United States District Court County Judge Deary owed Neil Migliore a favour because it was alleged that Migliore had helped him become a US Attorney several years before. The FBI file continues. Source stated that Migliore had formerly been the Lucchese underboss, and that he was disliked by VIC AMUSO and Gas Casso. AMUSO and Casso once told Source that if Migliore were ever to be released from prison, that he should be killed. Upon Migliore's recent release, he was placed in Source's crew, so that Source would have control over Migliore and then kill him within a fairly short period of time. In the mid to late 1980s, Neil Migliore received a 24-year sentence for various charges, including bid rigging. Neil Migliore's conviction was overturned, and he was released on bail in 1991. Meanwhile, VIC AMUSO and Anthony Gaspipe Casso were planning to have him killed. Al Diaco's 302 would continue. Migliore was summoned to meet with Source, so that Source could tell Migliore that he was Migliore's new capo, and to convey a message to USDCJ Deary. The meeting took place at the home of Pete Vario, in the vicinity of Long Beach, Long Island, on the south shore of Long Island. The meeting took place at night, and involved a walk out to Vario's boat dock behind the house. Present were Source, Migliore and Vario. Source had been driven to the house by Harpo, Frank Trapani. However, Harpo was not present for any conversations. Migliore had been driven by Jerry Corallo, son of Tony Ducks Corallo. Source advised Migliore that he was Migliore's new capo. Migliore acknowledged this, but explained that it was difficult to meet with Source because of a $2 million bail condition. If he were to be associating with felons, he would be remanded to prison, and his family would forfeit the money. Migliore also explained that he is in poor health and that he had financial problems due to the failure of his tile and marble business. From the file we can see that at Pete Vario's house, son of Paul Vario, a meeting took place where Little Al informed Neil Migliore that he was now to be in Diaco's crew. Migliore informed him that due to the conditions of his bail, it would be tricky for him to regularly meet with Little Al. In the next section of the file, we see how Little Al told Neil Migliore that he needed to reach out to Judge Raymond Deary to assist with family boss VIC AMUSO's legal problems. The file states, source proceeded to convey to Migliore the sentiment that USDCJ Deary needed to be reached. Migliore acknowledged that Deary owed a favour due to his previous appointment, and that he could, in fact, be reached. Source told him that the judge should do everything for VIC AMUSO, and that Peter Chiodo should be discredited. Source added that the case had been going well for the defence, and so any decision relating to possibly going for a mistrial due to AMUSO's recent apprehension should be abandoned. Source wanted the trial to continue. Finally, Source told Migliore that if he was unsuccessful in reaching USDCJ Deary, Migliore should let Source know right away. Source noted that he was never recontacted by Migliore and that he assumed that the message was conveyed. Source spoke to Vario, who stated that he assumed that the message had been passed on to the judge. Little Al then discusses some of Neil Migliore's powerful connections. The file reads, Source stated that Migliore has influential contacts, such as attorney Tom Dawson, and that Dawson may serve as a conduit for Migliore to Deary. Other close associates of Migliore who are influential are Sam Albuquerque, president of New York Trap Rock Corp., and John Quadrozzi, president of Quadrozzi Concrete. Al Diaco then informs the FBI that he believes that Neil Migliore could be a potential target for them, as his situation could make him ideal to become a government cooperator. The FBI file states, source advised that Migliore may be receptive to contact by the FBI due to a variety of factors. Primarily, Migliore has a problem due to his bail conditions and his meeting with Source. Migliore is in poor health and has financial problems. Migliore has attempted to relocate to Italy, probably due to fear of his own Lucchese family members. Knowledge of the impending hit, which may soon take place, as well as the explanation as to why Migliore was placed in Source's crew, may also contribute to his cooperation. In the following part of the file, Al Diaco gives a bit of background on respected Lucchese mobster Agnello Neil Migliore. The file states, Neil Migliore was inducted into the Lucchese LCM approximately 15 years ago, at a time when the books were closed and no new members were being inducted. However, an exception was made for Migliore, whereupon they brought him to another area of the country, inducted him, and then brought him back to New York. He is presently in his late 50s, though he looks much older, is in bad health, walks with a cane, but is very wealthy. He is married and lives in Oyster Bay, Long Island. His sister and brother-in-law operate Migliore Funeral Home in Corona, Queens on 104th Street. He used to travel to New York City in limousines with 3 or 4 individuals, all of whom were well dressed. His primary associates included Jerry Corallo, Tony Dux Corallo, P.T. Vario, aka Rugsy, P.T. Beck Di Palermo, and Christy Tic Finari. Partly because of his close relationship with Anthony Corallo, Migliore was made underboss of the Lucchese organised crime family shortly after the commission case of the mid-1980s. Al Diaco indicates that despite the Mafia membership books being closed during the 1960s and up until 1976, during this period, Neil Migliore was inducted into another family outside of New York and then transferred back to the Lucchese family. Whether this is true is up for debate. He then informs the FBI that Migliore was close with mobsters such as former Family Boss Anthony "Tony Ducks" Corallo, former consigliere Christopher "Critty" Dick Finari, as well as old school mobster and narcotics heavyweight Peter "Petey" Beck di Palermo. Interestingly, Little Al also states that following the commission case, when both Lucchese boss Anthony Corallo and Lucchese underboss Salvatore Tom Mick Santoro were convicted for 100 years, Neil Migliore was made the family's underboss. This contradicts other sources that state that new boss VIC AMUSO's first underboss at this time was Mariano Mac Macaluso. But perhaps Neil Migliore had been Anthony Corallo's first choice for underboss, but due to Migliore's legal issues at the time, Macaluso got the position. But this is just speculation. Aldiaco then again discusses how Neil Migliore's life was in danger from Amuso and Casso, who viewed him as a threat to their power. As the FBI file reads, Migliore was under the auspices of Capo di Cima Aldiaco and was believed by source to be in line to be killed by Anthony Casso's and VIC AMUSO's orders. Casso and Amuso would have preferred that Migliore be killed because of their perception that Migliore was a threat to their power. Migliore was placed in Source's crew, the suspected intention being that after Migliore and others from Source's crew were killed, then Source would also be murdered. Ultimately, government informant Aldiaco's suspicions were realised when in 1992 Neil Migliore was blasted by a shotgun after attending a child's birthday party. As one newspaper reported, a reputed Lucchese crime family captain freed from prison last year was in critical condition yesterday after a gunman dispensed mob-style justice after a child's birthday party in a Long Island restaurant. Agnello Neil Migliore, 59, of Oyster Bay, Long Island, was shot in the head, neck and chest when a gunman fired through a glass wall of Tesoro's Ristorante on Old Country Road in Westbury at 9:55 p.m. Friday. Migliore was sitting with a female friend at a table at the front of the atrium section, visible from the street, when a dark sedan rolled up to the restaurant. The vehicle stopped long enough for a hitman to fire 2 shotgun blasts, cops said. About 30 patrons in the restaurant ducked for cover as the glass flew, and most left the scene before cops arrived. Migliore's tablemate, whom the police would not identify, was not injured. Migliore was in critical but stable condition under police guard at Nassau County Medical Center, where he underwent 3 hours of surgery. Police said Migliore was celebrating the birthday of the 4-year-old granddaughter of his companion, who was described as a longtime family friend. The girl and other party guests left about a half hour before the shooting. Migliore was not armed, cops said. According to reports, the FBI, based on Aldiaco's information, had warned Neil Migliore about a possible threat to his life. But the old-school mobster continued his life as normal regardless. Neil Migliore would survive the shooting, and ultimately, in the 2000s, imprisoned family boss VIC AMUSO, the man presumably behind the attempt on Migliore's life a decade before, elevated Migliore to be part of a ruling panel that helped run the Lucchese crime family. Agnello Neil Migliore would pass away of natural causes in late 2019. He was 85 years old. I hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching.